Picture this. You're driving down a dark highway at 2 a.m. when suddenly a massive triangular craft blocks out the stars above you, completely silent, defying everything you know about physics. Tonight, we're diving into 6 UFO encounters so terrifying and unexplained that they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about what's lurking in our skies. These aren't just lights in the distance, these are close encounters that left witnesses forever changed, and some forever missing. On a clear Thursday evening in March 1997, thousands of people across Arizona looked up at the sky and witnessed something that would challenge everything they thought they knew about what flies above us. March 13, 1997 began like any other night in Phoenix. But at approximately 8:15 p.m., the ordinary became extraordinary. Witnesses from across the state reported a massive V-shaped craft, over a mile wide, silently gliding through the desert sky. The object moved with an eerie grace, its lights arranged in perfect formation, casting an otherworldly glow across the landscape below. Phone lines lit up as thousands of people simultaneously witnessed the same impossible sight. Among those watching was Arizona's own governor, Fife Symington. Initially, he would mock the incident publicly, even staging a press conference where an aide dressed as an alien was brought out in handcuffs. But years later, Symington would reveal a startling truth. He had seen the craft himself that night, and he believed it was not of this world. The governor's eventual admission would lend credibility to what thousands already knew. They had witnessed something beyond conventional explanation. The military's official response came swiftly. Flares. Training exercises, they claimed, nothing more than illumination rounds dropped during routine operations. But this explanation crumbled under scrutiny. The timing was wrong, the behavior inexplicable. Flares fall and fade. These lights moved in perfect, unwavering formation across hundreds of miles. The craft's movement was too precise, too coordinated to be explained away by falling debris. Yet perhaps the most disturbing aspect wasn't what people saw, but what they felt. Witnesses described an overwhelming sense of dread as the massive object passed overhead. Many reported feeling scanned, as if something was studying them with the same curiosity they felt looking up. Some spoke of a presence, an intelligence behind those lights that seemed to acknowledge their observation. In the weeks that followed, something even stranger emerged. Witnesses began reporting missing time from that evening, gaps in memory they couldn't explain. Others were plagued by vivid, recurring dreams of that night, dreams that felt more like suppressed memories fighting to surface. The psychological aftermath proved as mysterious as the event itself, leaving many to wonder what else might have occurred during those silent minutes under the desert sky. The Phoenix Lights remain one of the most well-documented mass UFO sightings in history, witnessed by thousands and captured on video. But perhaps the most unsettling question isn't what those lights were, it's what they might have been doing as they drifted silently through the Arizona night, observing a city that was, unknowingly, observing them back. Deep in the Suffolk countryside, where ancient trees whisper secrets older than memory, something descended from the December sky in 1980-something that would forever change the lives of those who witnessed it. It began in the early hours of December 26, when security personnel at RAF Bentwaters reported unusual lights beyond the perimeter fence. What they discovered in the nearby Rendlesham Forest defied every protocol in their training manual. A triangular craft, pulsing with ethereal light, had apparently landed among the pines. The object seemed to retreat as they approached, leading them deeper into the darkness like some otherworldly will-o'-the-wisp. 2 nights later, Deputy Base Commander Charles Halt ventured into the forest with a team of men, armed with radiation detectors and recording equipment. What he captured on that tape would become one of the most chilling pieces of evidence in UFO history. His voice, steady at first, gradually fills with genuine terror as strange lights begin to approach his position. "Here I am at the edge of the forest," he whispers into the microphone, "and the thing is back." The fear in his voice is unmistakable. This is not the fabrication of attention seekers, but the real-time documentation of trained military personnel confronting the impossible. The physical evidence left behind painted an equally disturbing picture. Radiation readings spiked at 3 distinct points where the craft had allegedly touched down. Deep indentations scarred the forest floor in a perfect triangular pattern, while nearby trees bore unusual burn marks that defied conventional explanation. The forest itself seemed to bear witness to something that had no business existing in our reality. Perhaps most unsettling were the accounts of direct contact. Several witnesses reported receiving telepathic communications from unseen entities, including streams of binary code that, when decoded, allegedly contained predictions of future catastrophes. The messages spoke of disasters yet to come, as if these visitors possessed knowledge of humanity's timeline that stretched beyond our comprehension. The code was so complex and specific that it would take years for researchers to fully decode its ominous warnings. In the decades that followed, multiple career military officers have come forward, sacrificing their reputations and facing institutional pressure to maintain their silence. Colonel Halt himself, along with Sergeant Jim Peniston and Airman John Burroughs, have steadfastly maintained their accounts despite threats to their careers and personal credibility. These are not men given to flights of fancy. They are trained observers whose entire profession depends on accurate reporting and clear judgment. The Rendlesham Forest still stands today, its trees keeping their ancient vigil over the spot where reality once bent. But one question lingers in the Suffolk air. If highly trained military personnel can be so thoroughly shaken by what they encountered that December night, what does that tell us about the true nature of what visited our world? What happens when 62 children witness the impossible and their story never changes? September 16, 1994. The morning sun cast long shadows across the dusty playground of Ariel School in Roswell, Zimbabwe. It was just another day of recess for the children until the sky delivered something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. 62 students, ranging in age from 6 to 12, watched in stunned silence as a silver craft descended from the heavens, settling in the scrubland beyond their school grounds. But this was only the beginning. What emerged from the craft defied every rational explanation. Beings with large, penetrating eyes approached the fence line, their presence both alien and oddly familiar. The children stood frozen, not in terror, but in a strange, compelling calm. Then something extraordinary happened without words, without sound. These entities began to communicate directly into the minds of the watching children. The message was urgent, almost desperate. Humanity was destroying the earth, and time was running out. When the teachers finally gathered the shaken students, expecting the usual playground chaos of conflicting stories, they found something far more unsettling. Child after child produced nearly identical sketches, large-eyed beings, silver craft, the same haunting details rendered by dozens of different hands. These children had not spoken to each other, had not compared notes, yet their accounts aligned with a precision that seemed impossible for fabrication. Dr. John Mack, a Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner, traveled to Zimbabwe to investigate. What he discovered challenged everything he thought he knew about child psychology. Interview after interview revealed the same conclusion. These children showed no signs of delusion, no markers of mass hysteria. They spoke with the quiet certainty of witnesses to something real, something that had fundamentally altered their understanding of the world. 25 years have passed since that September morning. The children of Ariel School have grown into adults, scattered across the globe, living separate lives. Yet when interviewed today, their stories remain unchanged, not embellished by time, not softened by distance. Many speak of a lasting psychological impact, a weight they carry from that day when the impossible became undeniably real. In a world where childhood memories fade and stories evolve with each telling, what force could preserve such vivid, consistent testimony across decades? Perhaps the answer lies not in what these children imagined, but in what they truly saw. In the vast wilderness of Arizona, 7 men would witness something that would shatter their understanding of reality and leave one of them missing for 5 terrifying days. November 5th, 1975. The sun was setting over the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest as a crew of 7 loggers finished their day's work. Travis Walton, a 22-year-old woodsman, rode with his coworkers along the familiar dirt roads that wound through the towering pines. But as their truck rounded a bend, the men saw something that shouldn't exist, a metallic disc hovering silently above the tree line, emanating an otherworldly glow. Against the desperate shouts of his companions, Walton approached the craft. What happened next would haunt the remaining 6 men forever. A brilliant beam of light erupted from the object, striking Walton and hurling him backward like a rag doll. Panicked and certain their friend was dead, the crew fled into the night, leaving Travis behind in that remote clearing. When the traumatized loggers reached the authorities, their wild story transformed them from witnesses into suspects. How do you explain to police that your coworker was taken by a UFO? For 5 agonizing days, search teams combed the forest while the 6 men faced interrogation, polygraph tests, and growing suspicion of murder. The town of Snowflake, Arizona, became a pressure cooker of fear and doubt. Then, on November 10th, Travis Walton reappeared. Dehydrated, disoriented, and bearing memories that defied explanation, he described 5 days aboard an alien craft. His account was unlike any abduction story told before. Clinical details of a sterile medical bay, procedures performed by gray beings with large black eyes, and technology that seemed to respond to thought itself. The precision of his descriptions, the consistency of his story, and the raw terror in his voice convinced many that something extraordinary had occurred. All 7 men passed multiple polygraph examinations. Their testimonies never wavered, despite decades of scrutiny, ridicule, and fame. They had nothing to gain and everything to lose by maintaining their story, yet they held fast to their account of that November night. The case file remains open, the questions unanswered. In the depths of the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest, that lonely clearing still exists, marked only by the memories of 7 men who claim they witnessed the impossible. But perhaps the most unsettling question isn't what happened to Travis Walton. It's how many others have vanished into the night with no witnesses left behind to tell their story. In the winter of 1989, something stalked the skies above Belgium, something that would force a nation's military to confront the impossible and admit they had no explanation for what they witnessed. It began as scattered reports from startled citizens across the Belgian countryside. Over 13,500 people would eventually come forward, all describing the same haunting sight. Massive triangular craft, silent as shadows, drifting through the night sky with an otherworldly grace. These weren't the fleeting glimpses of distant lights that typically marked UFO encounters. These objects lingered, allowing witnesses to study their alien geometry in terrifying detail. The Belgian Air Force initially dismissed the reports as mass hysteria or misidentified aircraft. But when military radar installations began detecting the same anomalous signatures that civilians were reporting, skepticism transformed into urgent concern. The objects weren't just visible to the naked eye, they were leaving electronic fingerprints that defied conventional understanding of flight. On the night of March 30th, 1990, the military made a decision that would change everything. 2 F-16 fighter jets screamed into the darkness. Their mission: intercept the unknown craft. What happened next challenged the very foundations of physics. The pilots watched in stunned silence as the objects performed impossible maneuvers, 40G turns that would have liquefied any human pilot, instantaneous acceleration from 150 miles per hour to over 1,000 miles per hour. The radar systems recorded every impossible moment, creating an electronic testimony that could not be dismissed or explained away. Colonel Wilfried de Brouwer, a respected military officer with decades of experience, made an unprecedented decision. He released the classified radar data and gun camera footage to the public, along with a statement that sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The objects, he declared, were not of terrestrial origin. This wasn't the testimony of conspiracy theorists or attention-seeking civilians. This was military confirmation from one of NATO's most trusted allies. The witnesses weren't just ordinary citizens caught in the grip of collective delusion. Police officers, commercial pilots, and military personnel all reported identical sightings. The Belgian government, rather than covering up the incidents, officially acknowledged that something extraordinary had occurred in their airspace, something that challenged humanity's understanding of what was possible. 2 decades have passed since the last triangular craft vanished into the European night, yet the questions remain as haunting as ever. If these objects weren't from Earth, where did they come from? And perhaps more unsettling still, why did they choose Belgium, and what were they searching for in those cold winter skies? Thank you for watching until the end of the video. If you found this video interesting, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos.